learn more where I can about personal finance and macroeconomics and technology, and that sort of spawned the YouTube channel. Kind of learn in public, teach other people. You get smarter, they get smarter.
Welcome back, everybody, to another episode of the Pursuit of Purpose. My name is Chris Kiefer, and today I have Rhett Reisman. Should have double-checked how to say your name. It is Rice, correct?
Reisman, yeah.
Reisman.
Close. Everyone does it wrong.
Okay.
It's all good.
But no, this is important because my last name is Kiefer, and everyone says Kiefer.
Right.
So I'm trying to think, did I just do to you what everybody... I think I just did to you what everyone does to me.
One or
Kiefer,
the other. Yeah, right.
So Kiefer
Reisman.
and Reisman, not Kiefer and Reisman. There we go.
Yes.
So I just did the thing that happens always to me. So anyways, Rhett is a YouTuber that has a channel on YouTube with just under 9,000 subscribers. And if I'm not mistaken, Rhett, your goal is just to help people get smarter, in particular, the space of technology, AI, Bitcoin, cryptocurrency. That's kind of your sphere. But before I get into the backstory, which I think is also interesting, go ahead and give us like the 60-second bio on who Rhett is.
Totally. So growing up, kind of a nerdy kid, really like math. Went to college, studied computer science and economics. Couldn't really choose between sort of technology and finance, and I think that's sort of emblematic of kind of where the channel's at now. Bitcoin, found out about Bitcoin in like 2011. Became very interested in it. Graduated from college in 2016. Started investing generally and then investing in Bitcoin, and have just kind of been going from there, always trying to look. So that's just kind of what I'm trying to do.
One question I was going to ask you right away was, how many other podcasts have you appeared on besides this one?
Very few. I've done a few. I've reached out. You meet a lot of cool people putting work out in public like this, and I've appeared on a couple of AM radio shows.
Really?
So that has been really fun. Yeah,
That's
it was
funny.
like I think it recently got shut down because like AM radio, like not super profitable, right?
Yeah.
But it was a lot of fun. A little more clickbaity, and like you got to deal with the segments and the ads and stuff.
Totally.
Not as good like long form conversation as
Yeah, but the reason I asked that is because I think that this is just like, so I actually need to update you. So Rhett and I talked, I think it was 3 weeks ago-ish, 4 weeks or something like that. But I found Rhett because I was trying to solve a very specific problem, which was I have automation clients and we found these great tools and this one extension that works in Chrome. And I was like, all their sales reps were on iPads. So this amazingly awesome solution that we had come up with wasn't going to work for the iPad. So I was like, crap, what can I do? So I went onto YouTube. How do I get a Chrome extension to work on an iPad? And Rhett's video is the first thing that pops up. And I think, if I'm not mistaken, that's like your highest viewed video, correct?
It is, yeah, it's crazy.
Yeah, which is also interesting. That's like you never know what is going to stick. I'm sure that time-wise, it's not like you spent exponentially more time on that video than any other ones, and there's probably some videos that you spent so much time on that you thought were going to take off and they didn't. But I stumbled across that, and then the thing that like made me super excited was Rhett just had a link to Calendly. It was like book some time to chat, and I was like, what? Like, this is crazy. Like how like I can just pick this guy's brain to see if he thinks it's worth, my idea is worth like spending more time on. Anyways, since we met, I now have officially posted the first YouTube video on my YouTube channel. I've been podcasting forever and posting like YouTube videos on the podcast channel, but specifically a channel around automation. So the first video I posted, and it's in this very niche painting business automation. That's my niche. So there's no other business or YouTube channel that is that focused on that topic. And I'm going to spend and go deep into every single imaginable thing that I can think about that a painting company might want to automate and start giving it away. So that's the context of how Rhett and I are here, which I just think is so cool. Like, this is the best part of the internet that we're living in real time. But my question for you is how, like, first of all, how much longer do you think you're going to have that Calendly link available for people to just book time on your calendar? And then what are the pros and cons, or maybe you could say the craziest and most, like, the best and worst conversations that have happened because of that?
Yeah, totally. Hopefully not much longer, because that will mean that my channel has exploded and I don't have enough time to talk to everyone. But as long as I can continue to handle the volume of people putting things on my calendar, I'll continue to do it because it spawns really cool conversations and stuff like this. This is probably one of the coolest ones that has come from it. I get a lot of. I got some consulting opportunities through it a couple years ago, and that was um, pretty lucrative compared to like just uploading YouTube videos. So it's definitely great for one-on-one consulting. It's great for reaching out to the audience, and if they have specific problems, solving those problems. Um, some crazy ones. There's some old people that are not technologically savvy that are into Bitcoin that probably should not be into Bitcoin and self-custodying their Bitcoin. You can imagine like your dad loses his password. This is, your dad lost $10,000 or something because it's on the password, right?
Oh man.
So some of those conversations can be, you try to come to them with like as much empathy as possible, because
And
these
you're
people
just
are
like
reaching
the
out to you as
bearer
an
of
expert,
bad
but it's,
news.
yeah, right. Sometimes you can't do
Sorry,
anything
dude.
about it. So
Yeah, that's why you should keep your money in the bank, old
exactly,
people.
right. It's definitely
Um,
an argument for that.
so the jumping off point for this conversation I thought would be something when we chatted for that first 30 minutes. Immediately I was like, I'm going to talk to this guy more because you mentioned a Gary V. I don't know if it was a quote, but more of the philosophy that Gary V has been touting for 10 plus years. And that is just giving away valuable information, valuable content for free. So, yeah, that's the topic that I want to start on at least. Tell me your experience living it, doing it, the voices in your head of like, this is not worth it, this is a bad idea, I should charge for this, but whatever.
Yeah. So I started listening to Gary Vee right when I graduated college. I was entry level programming, on the computer 8 hours a day or whatever, and a lot of programmers will listen to stuff while they're programming. And I would just listen to Gary Vee videos in 2016. He had just started like the Ask Gary Vee show, and it was just like classic Gary Vee. And he was talking about the long tail of the internet, how there's going to be all these jobs on the internet, and how, would you rather, if you love Beanie Babies, would you rather be making $60,000 a year talking about Beanie Babies all the time, or $80,000 a year as like an insurance agent or something boring that you don't really care about? And then he would talk about the books at the time, where Jab, 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 Right Hook had been popular maybe 5 years ago, and the concept of that book was a jab is you're giving free content to the audience, and then the right hook is you're asking, give, 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 ask, asking for something from the audience. And then the other one was the thank you economy, which was sort of this idea that in the 50s, your like local baker, you knew him really well, and so he would give you, like he would do things for you that didn't necessarily make business sense. So it was like, if it was your birthday, he would give you like a nice cake or something, right? And that doesn't make any business sense to him, other than that over the long period of time, you're going to live in the same town as him, and like you're going to give him repeat business because he's really nice to you. And that sort of ethos had disappeared between the 50s and say the 2000s, but that it was re-emerging on the internet, and that brands would want to become your friend and give you free things for your birthday to create that like empathy sort of feeling back with you. And it might not make sense in the short term. You might be like, hey, Rhett, you're giving away, programming advice that you could charge for on the internet for, what would it cost? Yeah, how much would I really make? I don't know. But ultimately, the relationship with the audience, building trust with the audience, is more important than the, thousands or tens of thousands of dollars that I could have made, like extracting value from people, basically. And it should hopefully in the long run return more than that to me when I create a large audience of people that trust my opinions, and then I can offer them a real service that's like even more valuable to them, basically.
Yeah, and the other thing that Gary says all the time is just patience. Like, you have so much time, and it's like the panic of like, I got to figure out how to make $100 this month is not, the best idea always. And I think another thing I thought about is I don't know. Have you gotten any advertising um, dollars from just someone that's like, hey, I want you to run an ad, or I'm going to pay you $100 to review this thing, or like when, if you have, when was the first time that someone reached out to quote unquote sponsor your channel?
Right. So in the cryptocurrency space, there's a lot of ethically dubious companies that will try to sponsor all of your videos and stuff, and it's kind of crazy because some of these companies are no longer in business because they've it was a scam
Blow it
or
up
it was
and
whatever,
get out.
right?
Yeah.
Yeah. And I remember getting offers like that even when the channel had like 100 subscribers. I think like once you've made a video that gets thousands or tens of thousands of views, you'll start to get those requests from companies like that. And not to say that they're all ethically dubious or whatever, right? There's plenty of legitimate companies that are trying to buy advertising space. I have personally avoided doing deals like that just because I think that the relationship with the audience in the long term is more valuable than like making a couple $100 off of a video or something like that. And I'm like fortunate enough, I think, to have a full-time job and have the YouTube channel going at the same time so that I don't ever feel like I have to have this pressure to like monetize on the YouTube channel at the expense of, the trust of the audience, basically.
Yeah. I was going to echo that I recently, and I'm going to try and make this as cryptic or general as possible because the person might listen to this. But I had a conversation with someone, and they were working on, building a brand, personal brand, whatever, and they were talking about the ways that they had found to monetize their brand early. And basically, my thought was when they were telling me, essentially, it doesn't even matter what the dollar amount is, but they were saying that they were able to get a sponsor for, $100 or $75 or whatever this price was. And they were excited that they were already able to, bring in some money relatively early on. And my visceral reaction was kind of that Gary V mentality that you're sharing as well, where I'm like, if I'm going to take on a sponsorship, because I never have in the podcast that I've been doing, but it's always been like, I don't even care about the money. I just like having conversations, and that's what's most important to me. So I've always been like, I literally have never taken a dollar. And no one, I feel like someone might have said, I would say probably maybe one person in the last 5 years has said, like, hey, I want to pay you to talk about this, which maybe goes to show you what my listenership is, but we'll just put that aside. So, but when I heard that this person was talking about, bringing in money for their brand, I was just like, as soon as you sell out, because you have to like sell out, quote unquote, or capitalize at some point. But I can't remember how Gary says it, but it's like you want to try and delay gratification for as long as possible. And I think he calls it like your branding, your branding, which is not bringing in money. And then as soon as you start marketing, you're like shooting yourself in the foot, but you're collecting on that brand value. So branding is building the potential value. Marketing is extracting value, but you can't grow while you're marketing. And I've always had that mindset of like, okay, if I am going to, who knows how big the potential I have of being in a podcast or in a YouTube channel. Same thing for you. Like the sky's the limit, but the longer you can delay, the better. Or if you are going to take on a sponsor, make sure that it makes so much sense in like the same alignment of your channel that it's not just like, I'm just trying to think of some absurd sponsor that I could have, like financial management or like a funeral home, or I don't know, something that's just like, and thanks to Johnson Funeral Home for sponsoring this episode. It's just like, what? Like,
Right. No
what are we
relation to your
doing?
audience at all.
It doesn't
Yeah.
make any sense.
Right.
But maybe if there's an app that, I'm a big fan of and I've been using it for 5 years and I swear by it, then yeah, sure, that could be an alignment and serve well. But anyways, that's my 2 cents.
And then I think to follow up on what you just said, I think the thing that would be maximally aligned with your channel would be a business that you own, that you are providing free service to the audience and the audience has come because they find value in the content. And then the back end is a business that you own, that you control, that you know the ethics of, right? That you feel comfortable advertising your own business to the audience that is theoretically like directly, at least some portion of the audience is like the perfect or the ideal, customer of that business, right?
That's why we exist is to and actually that reminds me, I have like 10 episodes ago I was like, all right, I broke 100. I'm going to start talking about this review software that I built and my consulting company, because the Pursuit of Purpose is just like, it's literally like I have guests that come on and they're like, what would you like us to talk about, Chris? What do you think your audience would find most interesting? And I'm like, well, given the fact that my audience is my mom and my sisters and occasionally, a random friend, I don't really care what they want to hear. So just talk about what you're an expert at. But most people are so, it's like I don't know. The Pursuit of Purpose for me is just like, I am going to interview people that I find interesting, and that's it. That's the end. There's no business plan. I mean, I have another revenue business, but I'm not getting any clients from this, at least not that I'm aware of. But once my clients are clients, then I'm like, hey, check out this episode that I did, which has nothing to do with what I'm doing for them. But I like to think that it adds a little bit of, trust, personality. They learn a little bit more about what Chris is interested in. And they'll send me a text, which, by the way, if any of my clients are listening to this episode, just because I just want to run an experiment, I'm guessing there might be one person, send a text message that's like, hey, Chris, I heard this episode and just wanted to say that I've worked with you professionally and I'm listening to your podcast, because there's not that many people that listen to it, but I would be blown away if someone texted me and I found out that they did. So back to you,
Eventually, It will be too many people, right? Eventually, we'll be getting text messages off the chain.
That's the goal. Yeah.
Yeah, but that's 100%, and it's like building a resume in public, and it's you do the work, and when you release it publicly, you're getting credit for it. All that.
I like both of those things, actually. Tell me more about the building a resume in public.
Yeah, there's a good book. It was called "Show Your Work," I think it was Austin Kleon. It's very short, so anyone can kind of pick it up and read it. And it was just about like, you're doing the work anyway. Why not get credit for doing the work? And getting credit for doing the work is showing the work to other people. And you don't have to be an expert in whatever this thing you're doing is, but as long as you have solved the problem for yourself, there's probably someone else out there that's trying to solve that same problem at the same level of competence that you are, right? So you don't need to be the best video editor on the planet to put out a course for video editing for beginners, right? You might be better as a level 2 video editor at teaching a level 1 video editor than a level 10 video editor would be at teaching a level 1 video editor. And so if you're going to do that work anyway, why not get credit for it and release it into the public, right?
Love that. I actually just looked up Austin Kleon, and I'm realizing he's also the one that wrote Steal Like an Artist.
Yes.
Which I feel like I've heard the name before, but now I'm like, I want to figure out how to get Austin on the podcast. He's
Exactly.
he's got 177,000 Instagram followers. It's gonna be a stretch. But
I read one of, sorry to cut you off, but I read one of Derek Sivers' books. I forget which one it was. But if you look him up,
he's the one that created CD Baby, right?
Yes, yeah. So I read one of those, and at the end he just has an email address, and he's like, email me if you like the book or whatever, and we'll talk. And so now I emailed him. He's a super nice guy, and he follows me on Twitter now. So
that's
like,
awesome.
You can get in touch with some of these guys, and he's got like 200,000 Twitter followers or something like that. A lot of these people are still super accessible.
Yeah,
which is
that's
really
awesome.
Cool.
I was going to say that so something, and this actually was again inspired by. It's great that as you talk to and engage with other people that are trying to put a deliberate effort towards creation instead of consumption, which is 99% of the population, it motivates and inspires for additional things in action to start happening, because you're like, oh, like I forgot about, like you just said, I forgot about talking about this business in my podcast, but now I'm like, okay, I'm going to go do that. Or like, oh, I want to reach out to these people. And I can now point to, hey, my buddy and I, Rhett, we're talking about you on this podcast and you
Totally.
got to come on. Like, let's
Right,
go.
exactly. Yeah, yeah.
So, but one of the things that I did that I had stopped doing was, and this was again because of Gary Vee, I had this idea, and this was, I think it was 5 years ago ish, that I was like, Gary was talking about like just document, don't create, just
Yes.
document everything that you're doing.
Hmm.
And so I made a YouTube channel that was specifically for like every day I was going to post like what was going on in Chris's life. There was the dream of like, what if I made a vlog? But 5 years ago, my life was like, there would have been like, vlog number one, Chris is sitting in his, mom's attic trying to create something and it didn't work. And then, vlog number two, yeah, whatever. It's just nothing interesting.
Nothing exciting. Yeah.
However, I was like, okay, so I can't have a D Rock follow me around. So I'm just going to record a video of me, whatever I'm thinking about that day, and just do that. And I'm trying to actually look to see how many I made or how many days I did it. But then kids came and I stopped doing it because it took, time and I forgot. So it was 6 years ago that I did it the first time. And then I stopped back in 4 years ago. So I did it for like two ish, not like every day, but for about a year, maybe a little bit longer. But then I stopped. And I went back randomly when I was creating this new YouTube channel for automation. And I watched one of the videos that I had posted 5 years ago. And I was like, that is great. Like, I literally articulated something 5 years ago that I had completely forgotten about. And it was still a thought that I had today that I thought was like a novel thought.
Yeah.
And to see that I already had been thinking like this, I just hadn't figured out like the vehicle, was like, that's super cool. So, anyways, about 2 weeks ago, or it was about 10 or 11 days ago, I was like, I'm just going to start doing this again. And I'm just going to post like, this is what's going on today. And then the other thing that I don't know if you have anything similar to this. I'm just kind of laying out some context that I think is interesting. But when I did it the first time, I put a ton of pressure on myself to do it every single day. So then I would like I'd miss a day and I'd be like, oh crap, my streak is broken. And then I would like, I was at 30 and now I got to go back to 0 in my head. But again, no one was asking me to do this. There was no streak. It was just this self-imposed thing. And so I remember that I hadn't, like, the last time that I posted was after this conference that I went to a dental conference to pitch my software and it was terrible. I signed up like one person. My goal was 20 and I was just like so deflated. And that's the video that I posted. After not posting for 3 days, I was like, I need to say this because I'm defeated. I don't feel good. This sucks. I posted it and then I never posted again for 5 years.
Right.
And then I was just like, damn it, that video that I saw was what made me say, you know what, I'm going to start doing this again. So, anyways, the point being that I was inspired by what you are creating. And then also that just remembering of Gary Vee, of like, just imagine any successful person and getting to go watch video one, like Wine Library TV video one. It's hilarious. Like, this guy wants to buy the New York Jets and he's actually going to do it. Like, he's getting closer and closer every day. And that's how he started. So, anyways, I think
Yeah,
that's
it's
awesome.
the novel thoughts when you're. I think a lot of, for me at least, when I think of like myself 5 years ago or something, I'm like, damn, I wish I had done like whatever this is earlier, or I wish I had made progress towards some idea faster than I had. And I think we have to be like patient with ourselves a little bit and be like, that guy was doing his best. He's like on the way there. He's got these good ideas. Like he's on the path of getting there. He's just there's something. It wasn't time, right? And maybe this time it is time, right?
I'm
And
curious if you have the same, because I realized about myself, and it was in reflecting that in the 5 years that I never posted a thought like that on YouTube, there was probably 20 plus times where I was like, I should do that again. But then I had this other voice of like, oh, have such this big gap. It's been like 2 years. It's awkward. Like, I'm just going to pick up as if I've been doing it this whole time. And I'm like debating with myself. And then another 3 months goes by and another 6 months go by. And it's just like the idea of, as soon as you think I should do this thing, my current, like, and I'm telling you this because I just am living it. I'm not perfect in this, but I'm like on the high of like, hey, I started doing something 2 weeks ago and I've been consistent. I missed a couple days, but that's fine. And I'm going to keep chipping away at it. That idea of just like the moment that you're like, I should do this thing, it's like just take this much of a step towards that thing today, right now, immediately. Put your stuff down, go like send an email, post a video, write like something to just move towards that thing the moment you think of it, instead of, even if it's like, I'm going to block out time on my calendar for 4 hours 2 weeks from now and I'm going to work on that.
Totally. Yeah.
Anyways.
I had a similar situation. I started, I was, for work, I was traveling in 2019. I was traveling every week, and I thought that that would be something that would be interesting to vlog, right? And so I bought the camera, I carried it in my backpack, and I think I made 2 vlogs. I vlogged once, and then I vlogged once again 2 weeks later. And I posted those videos on YouTube, and they got 4 views or something, and then I made them private, and then I never vlogged again, right? And I still carried around the camera every week that I would fly up to the client, and I would be like, well, maybe this week I'll vlog again, and I just would never vlog, right? And then during the pandemic, I was like, I think I asked my girlfriend or something. I was like, the topic had come up somehow, and she was like, well, what are you afraid of? And I was like, I'm afraid of what other people will think when I have a video that has no views or whatever, right? And then saying that out loud, I think, made it like that was the thing that I was like, well, that's stupid, right? That's like,
Yeah,
who cares?
that's why
right?
you're
So
not
I'll
going to do this.
Yeah, right, exactly. That's why, like, at what point you're not going to do this because someone's going to make fun of you, and that's worth like giving up this dream or this thing that you want to have happen, and it's obviously not, right, when you frame it like that. And then I created, these videos, which were it wasn't a vlog, right? I didn't have, all of that, like, you have to get the camera out and you have to hold it up really high and stuff, and the audio sucks, right? And all of that, like, vlog kind of stuff was just not, it was a lot of friction for me, and it was hard to get started. And so creating like a studio and just being able to sit and talk to a camera, I think, was like a better format for me to be able to consistently do something.
Yeah, I would totally agree. The thought has happened or crossed my mind of like recording a video, and I'm like, I still cannot get over the fact of like, it's not the thing that's, I don't know if this is better or worse. It's like, yeah, someone that I know might see me and make fun of me, which is like, that would actually hurt a little bit more than a stranger making fun of me, because I don't know them. They don't know
Yeah,
me.
who
They're
cares
never going
about
to see
stranger,
me.
right? Yeah.
But I still am more concerned about like the stranger when it's like because I've done a couple like selfie videos where I'm walking and talking, but that's especially like that's why I think it's impressive, like Casey Neistat, like being in New York City where it's just like so many people that are like, I guess maybe that's what made it easier, because it's like, it's not like if I'm in Coeur d'Alene, Idaho, my little town, and I walk by someone, that's like a less common occurrence. But in New York City, there's probably just so much of that that you're just kind of like, whatever.
Yeah, and he was clearly built for it, right? And he had especially that time where he's vlogging every day. It's like what you didn't see was the 15 years of filmmaking experience that led up to that point, right? Like if you or I tried to do that, not the same as this veteran filmmaker churning out like high
I
quality
actually didn't, I don't
content
think
every
I
day.
knew that. So he was in film for 15 years before
Yeah, like
or a long time.
indie filmmaking. Yeah, for like his whole life.
Ah.
He was making like videos when he was a child. I think he sold like a pilot of a show or something to HBO with his brother. So you just don't see all that work that like went into like what does it take to be able to vlog every day for 2 years. And obviously there are people that didn't have that experience that were still successful, but he's definitely different, right? He had a lot
So
of experience.
I don't know why this is the question that's coming to mind, but I'm curious for Rhett, what is like the big goal, the dream, the thing right now? Because obviously you have a YouTube channel, but what's the thing that you in the back of your mind or like deep down in your heart, you're like, I kind of want to go for this, but I'm afraid. Maybe you've told a couple people, maybe you told your girlfriend, maybe you haven't told anybody. What's the thing that you're like, I kind of want to do this, but you've never verbalized it, or at least verbalized it publicly, that you want to now do this right now?
Totally, yeah, that's a good question. She's my fiance now, so I've told her. But I would like to start selling like digital products, and I would like to like create courses or provide value to the audience in some other way outside of just making videos. And that's where I think what you're doing is really cool. And what a lot of other people, business owners, are doing is really cool, where I think content for content's sake is like fun, but it's not necessarily super sustainable in the long term, because if I don't make money from this, I will still be at my 9 to 5 job to like pay my bills and stuff, right? And that sacrifices the quality of the content, right? Like at some point you have to monetize, because if I did this 40 hours a week, 60 hours a week, whatever, which I can't right now because I have other obligations that how I earn money, right? If I could put more time into the content would be a lot better. It might reach more people. It might help more people. But the way for me to do that is like it has to monetize somehow, right? And that's what I kind of want to focus on over this next year, is putting more effort and energy into creating like good monetizable content that will eventually facilitate me making the switch to full-time content creation, basically.
Do you have a number of how much you need to be, or when is the time that you can? Because I'm guess these are all difficult questions, and if you don't know the answer, that's not surprising to me. Maybe you've thought about this, but the reason I'm asking this, I'll context first, is I feel like I know so many people that have dreams, ideas, and they're like, oh, I kind of want to be a painter, or oh, it'd be so cool if I had a podcast or a YouTube channel, or maybe it's something just a different industry that they want to go into, but they're frozen in fear or analysis. Have you made the decision in your mind of like, I need to have X in reserves or in savings, or I need to reach a certain number of subscribers, or have a certain amount of revenue from AdSense, or have an X amount of inquiries per week? Like, what's the point that you're like, okay, I should just go in and do it?
Yeah, it's a good question. I don't have super tangible numbers that I've like written down that I'm trying to get to, but I think I like to your point, or to, you know, if you want to like have those things happen, I think you have to probably set tangible goals. And I think the first thing that came to my mind when you were saying that is, if I could pay um, my like rent and part of groceries and like those basic lifestyle things with money that was generated as profit from the channel, then I would be comfortable maybe making a switch. And that would be a big pay cut from obviously where I'm at now. But, you know, I think that at some point the pay cut is worth it because of the upside, and because of the like happiness upside, and because of the like the purpose upside maybe, and the I'm building this thing that I think is going to help other people, versus like doing work that I don't super care about, for a paycheck, basically, right?
The other thing that's something that I had not thought about until recently, but what is the what problem are would you say that you're solving, or who is the person? Have you gotten clear on the demographic that you're trying to solve the problem for?
Yeah, I think that those are all like the things that I'm sort of struggling with right now in like product creation, is who specifically, who are you solving the problem for, and then what is like a problem that is like worthy of being solved, that I'm also like equipped to solve really well, um, because you want the product to be like as good as possible, right? um, and I think when I come back to like who is the product for, I think it's probably for me a year ago, or like me 6 months ago. um, in like what is that thing that I've learned over this period of time that like I can help other people um, get through faster or learn faster. Because I think a lot of these like courses and stuff, people, there's a lot of like cynicism around courses, and I think what you need to view courses as, or the right way to view courses, is like it's a way to speed up.
From getting A to B.
Yeah, exactly. And like at some point that is worth it to someone, because their time is more valuable than the cost of the course, right? Yeah.
So there's two thoughts that I have, and I want to clarify that for this is for you and for people listening. all these thoughts are not, this is not coming from like Chris, the wise person who's figured it all out. This is like what I'm literally like yesterday or tomorrow going to be working on.
Right. Yeah,
So
yeah. I love
this,
conversations like this because it helps.
this is like the
yeah,
on the edge of where I feel like I'm starting to uncover and like breakthroughs I'm having. But I saw a post from Alex Hermosi that said, it said solve rich people problems. I don't know if you saw, this was literally like in the last week he posted this on his Instagram, and I watched that and I was like, and he was explaining that rich people problems are get paid rich people prices when you're solving those versus the poor person problem. And he was using, and just it's the concept less amount, like what is the dollar amount. But if you're solving a poor person problem or just a person that doesn't have the resources, or you're solving like a consumer problem versus a business problem, those are all things that I previously had never considered. And I'm realizing in like real time as I'm rolling out this automation course for painting companies that there is this knowledge, and I now am solving a problem for a business, and I can take a business, like when I worked in that same role as a marketing director or an ops person, it took me 18 months to 2 years. It was a long time with tons of like headache, lots of pushback from people, no roadmap. We didn't know what we were doing. And now I'm trying to implement that same thing that took me 18 to 24 months in 3 months for a group of people at one time. And so, like you're saying, I can say like, this is the problem. Here's the solution. There's an ROI that you can calculate for your own business, and I can save you 9 to 16 months of time. What's that worth for you? Like, you tell me how much that's worth, and that generally it's worth a lot more than the price of the course. And then you get to do it in a community of other people that are also going through the course at the same time. So it's even better because now you're doing it with people. So I guess the thing that I think is interesting to discuss is like, um, well, there's actually two episodes for that. I'll text you afterwards. But if anyone listening to this episode finds this interesting, a conversation that I had with Michael Bianco on this podcast, it was like 10 to 20 episodes ago. I can't remember. But Michael Bianco started a software company that was literally an integration between Stripe and NetSuite. And he said that the way that he found it was super interesting because he was basically on forums and stuff, and he was trying to see like what issues people were having, and he saw that this sync thing with these two softwares kept coming up. And so he just like started messaging people, or actually I think what he did was he wrote a blog on how to solve it, and then he posted the link in the chat like, hey, I have a solution here, check it out. And it turns out that the people that were reading his blog were like controllers at big corporations that were like sweating bullets because their management's on them to solve this. And now he's getting a call to come in and meet with this huge company. And guess the huge company has money to pay, you know? And so I just think that like that's the ticket, is like getting creative about where you're looking for problems and making sure that the place that you're looking is a place that has resources or has a measurable ROI that is a no-brainer to invest in the solution.
Totally, exactly, yeah. And those are both like NetSuite and Salesforce or whatever you said. Where
Stripe, yeah, the payment
Stripe,
processor.
yeah, it's I mean they're billion-dollar markets, right? Where if you're charging $20,000 for a solution to Chase doesn't care. Chase will write the check for whatever, right?
Yeah, 100%.
Yeah. When you first told me about what you were doing, I was when we first had that conversation, I had just been reading Expert Secrets by Russell Brunson, and then one of the Alex Hormozi books. The leads are the
$100 million offers.
one. Yeah, one of those. And it just like what you're doing like so spoke to those things. I think like solving problems for businesses, and it's what you touched on with. It took you in your role as a chief marketing officer or whatever 2 years to solve the problem. That's 2 years of not just your time, but like the organization around you's
Yes,
time.
100%.
And now you're replicating that in less time with like less people resources, right? And
the
yeah,
roadmap.
Totally, yeah. It's a great opportunity. When you told me about it, I was like, yeah, this is it. This is what everyone talks about. This is like the business model, right?
And it's crazy because I feel like there's a couple different things that this all makes me think about, which is just like everybody has many opportunities. And even today, I feel like I have all these things that I see in front of me. And it's so hard. It was difficult for me to stop doing, like, literally, like, I was meeting and trying to get more automation clients. And I was like, the discipline to stop, sit down, map out the idea, map out the roadmaps, think about like what's the most logical way to do this. That's the hard for me, anyways. I am not a detailed person, but it took me so long to actually try to systemize the way that I think. And I also realized how weird, like, when someone's like, "Hey, how did you solve that?" And I'm like, "Oh, you just did this." And they're like, "Well, explain it." And I'm like going through, and I don't even know how to explain it to myself, let alone somebody else. So there's all that stuff of like, once you are able to, though, then people like, then you have that long tail of the internet and the scalability of digital to just be like, it doesn't take me any more time, and I can go solve the next problem that my client base is going to find valuable. But that's then I'm going back into the hard thing because I have to find the solution, come up with the solution, and then systemize the solution and explain it in layman's terms to someone that doesn't have all my knowledge.
Yes, and I think that that is like the real. That's like when I'm talking about like I don't have an idea for a business. I think the idea for all of these businesses is you have to first solve a problem that is like worth solving to a broad number of people. And once you've solved that problem, you systematize solving the problem, and then you sell the system and the implementation.
Yeah, 100%. So I want to go back to YouTube, pick your brain on your nuggets of growing a YouTube channel. Um, what is the actually, no, unless you have anything else, I actually remembered that you said you have some interesting use cases for AI. So scrap the YouTube thing, unless there's something else notable. I feel like we kind of touched on that, but thoughts. I would like to talk about AI.
Totally. Yeah. So I think something that I've come across recently with just content is the idea of like templatizing things and sort of exactly what you just talked about, right? Is like um, I have a system for making YouTube videos. Everyone that makes YouTube videos has a system for making YouTube videos. It's not that like my system is great or better or whatever, right? Um, but like the more like templatized and the more systematized that is, the easier it is to like just hand to someone else and say, here is the system, this is how you do it. Um, the more valuable that is, right? If the cost to you as the person reading this thing that I've produced and implementing it yourself is really low, then that becomes very valuable to you, right? And I think where AI is really helpful, if you just ask AI to write a script for a YouTube video for you, it's going to write a really bad script. But if you go and you turn the scripts of like 100 Mr. Beast videos into templates of like, this is the opening, these are the things that happen in an opening. This is the hook, these are the things that happen in a hook, these are the kind of things that are said. This is the end of the video, this is the click through to the next video, these are the kind of things that are said in each of these parts of the video. If you take that and you create these templates and you feed those templates into the AI and you say, write me 10 videos that adhere to these templates, those videos are going to be a lot closer to what you actually want versus like
Ooh.
you just saying, hey, ChatGPT, write me 10 videos about Bitcoin, right?
So that reminds me, because I looked at a couple of your videos before coming on here. I have to ask. I assume the one that is, I bought Bitcoin every day for 4 years. It changed my life.
Yeah.
Is that Well, first of all, I'm assuming you made this template thing in your head, or you have it. The beginning of the video, I can't remember. I'm just looking right now at how you said it. Uh, if you know, it was the one you posted a month ago. I'm curious if that was one of those videos.
A lot of the videos that I've been making recently have been scripted, at least in part by AI. The AI is not perfect, and sometimes it says really goofy things that I would not want to say. So I definitely go over them again and edit them, but that's where I'm moving, I think, with the generation of content. I'm getting really busy with my 9 to 5, and the any like juice that I can squeeze out of like efficiencies somewhere else, the better off it is for in my opinion.
So are you saying that you have done that, or you like it's a system I could buy it from you today?
it's not a system that I wouldn't feel comfortable giving it to someone else yet, because I don't think that it would provide you like enough value, but I want to get it there, and I want to be able to, deliver that to people and have it be really valuable and helpful to them.
Okay, so let me challenge your thinking, because I would say, keep in mind, I posted one YouTube video. You can look it up. It's not great. And it was like, I even told so I have some virtual assistants that help with editing, and I told them they're going to listen to this. I said that this is a Casey Neistat thing, and I said, I want to post, like, in June of this year, I said, I want to post 100 YouTube videos on YouTube on my automation channel before the end of the year. Guess how many videos I posted in the between June and October? 0.
Yeah,
And I was like, I'm not changing the number. I'm still
Right.
doing 100 videos by the end of the year, which means that there's only, I looked up today, there's 79 videos, because I just had 79 days left.
Yeah, right.
So I was like, nope, I'm still doing 100. And I told them, I know this sounds insane, but my belief is that the goal of those 100 videos is 100 at bats.
Yes.
And in that process, what I'm telling myself is I'm going to, I wouldn't have said, I'm stealing what you just said. I am creating templates, processes, systemizing, getting comfortable talking to the camera, getting comfortable like looking and not sounding like a robot while I'm trying to like read something, figuring out all those nuanced things. And if it takes you 2 months or 10 months to do 100 reps, I believe that you're going to get the same learning out of that. So I'm just trying to speed up that feedback loop.
100%.
I tell you that because I'm saying, I don't care what form your current product is in. That's valuable to me. I mean, obviously, there's not like you're not in contact with hundreds of me, but I'm like, that's what you're saying sounds super interesting. And if you've got like the 3 things to consider when you're writing your first 10 seconds of the video, the thing that's, I'm going to play devil's advocate, is like Mr. Beast is like, watch me blow up this train. And it's like, and then meanwhile, I'm like, let me show you how to automatically create a template in a Paint Scout estimate. And it's just like, okay, not quite the like exhilarating hook, but there still is something to be gained from being very intentional about those words. And right now I know that that's a part of the video that I'm ignoring because I just don't have a solution. But if there's a piece for even that of like, here's the structure, to me, I'm like, that sounds like a great thing. I definitely want to know that.
Totally. Yeah, that makes sense. And I think it goes back to the level 2 video editor teaching the level 1 video editor. So I got to follow my own advice maybe.
Yeah. And I would say, again, it's like this is just from my own experience. I would say, like, I legitimately, after this call, I want you to send me an email with like, hey, here's the thing. And you're in the habit of charging for free or charging nothing for something. But I'd want to know, like, put a price tag that you think is whatever it is, and know that it's not perfect. It's going to get better. There's going to be new improvements, maybe a slick interface or process that you've figured out. But right now it doesn't exist, and I don't care because it's the knowledge ultimately, and I'm willing to understand that it's version 1. It's the same thing I did with the course. Is like, it's so hard to say that I was finished, that I'm like ready for clients and customers. So what I did with the first group was, they're the beta group, and I'm giving them a huge discount on what I think the value is. They're getting lifetime access to the course, which no one else will get. And there's like all these pros of like, hey, trust me, I'm going to make this worth, and I'm going to make sure you get the result that I'm telling you. And here's how we're going to do it. And, I got 4 people in the beta group, and I'm learning a ton. Like, I'm just like, and they're giving me grace because I'm owning that it's not perfect. And there was a glitch on like day number 2 and the video wasn't loading or whatever. And I was like, so sorry. And I'm on there like fixing it as fast as I can. But anyways, I just think that's the way to do it.
That is definitely the right way to do it. Yeah. I'll follow up with you after this.
Awesome. Well, what other things are on your mind with technology, AI, how to leverage it, all that?
Yeah, so it's been great for media and video creation and stuff. It's also been really great for coding. I think if you're an established programmer, you've just become much more efficient. If you've used tools like ChatGPT, and there's a tool that I did a video on recently called Cursor AI that has integrated ChatGPT into programs that programmers have typically used up until this point. And then I think if you have no experience, which is a lot of people that watch my YouTube channel, you've just become, your ability to learn programming has just, it's much, much easier than it was a year ago. And it's much easier as a business owner to talk to ChatGPT and get the answers that you need for your business, rather than having to trust, a programmer or contractor that you don't necessarily maybe trust, right?
100%. I was going to say also that every time I have a podcast guest, I use ChatGPT to come up with 10 questions that are related to, that when in my scheduling form, I say, what are 2 to 3 topics? So I'm just asking that because I want ChatGPT to come up with some stuff in Airtable for me to talk about. But the interesting thing is that I'm not like, this is how I would, it's like you understand this with AI, like you said, it's not like you're taking what ChatGPT gives you and just injecting it back into YouTube. All I'm using it for is to save me, it's probably like 5 minutes, maybe 10 minutes of just trying to think like, what would be interesting to talk about today? And instead, ChatGPT gives me 10 ideas. And I'm like, stupid. Ooh, that's kind of interesting. All right, I'll do that one. And I make a note and then make a note on that one. And I take like 1 or 2, and they're just broad topics. But I'm just trying to get like the creative juices or the trains of thought running. And then I just like throw the rest away. But like, that's the value of ChatGPT. It's not like I'm going to be a podcast host and just like, so when was the first
Exactly.
video that
Yes.
you posted? Like nobody gets anything out of that.
That's the problem. I think a lot of people want ChatGPT to do everything for them, and it's not going to do everything for you, but it's going to make things so much easier than they used to be.
Totally. So let's move to our wrap up questions. This is a question I ask everybody. What are 3 book recommendations that you have for the audience?
Yeah. So I think my favorite book, I've read like a bunch of self-help books, and I think the one that you could read and then not read any others is this one that came out maybe a year ago called The Almanac of Naval Ravikant, A Guide to Wealth and Happiness by Eric Jorgensen, maybe. And it's just a great book for, I think, teaching yourself how to think in a productive way. Naval, very clear thinker, a lot of, viral tweets, viral frameworks for how to think, and that book is an amalgamation of sort of everything that he said publicly over the last decade or so.
So that's interesting. Do you have any idea if Eric Jorgensen like worked with Naval, or did he just
My understanding is that he did, yeah, but I think it might have started as just like a passion project. So that is an interesting, like, if you're looking for something to do and you're looking to get close to thought leaders, create
the summary of their life's work?
Yeah, exactly.
Yeah.
Right? And that's valuable to them. They want to package that and sell it. Or I think in this case, you can buy a physical copy of the book, you can buy an audiobook, or you can download the PDF for free from the website. I think if you just Google it.
That's
so it is
awesome.
totally free if you just want it. Yeah.
I love that, the intro into that, the book that you could read and never read anything else.
Yes,
I'm definitely putting that on the list.
It's really great, and it's not that long. Next, I recommend 2 finance books for people that are at different points in their lives. So I think the one that really helped me coming out of college was from Ramit Sethi, and it's called "I Will Teach You How to Be Rich," or "I Will Teach You to Be Rich." And then the one that I think is a little more advanced, a little more finance jargony, is "A Random Walk Down Wall Street" by Burton Malkiel. So I think those are both pretty solid finance books. And
Which one would you recommend first if I was going to read one?
Definitely the Ramit Sethi book first. If you already have like an understanding of checking accounts and savings accounts and stuff, maybe you don't need it, but it's good to get the basics and the fundamentals and do them correctly, I think. Yeah.
Awesome. And then what was that last one you said?
The Internet of Money was the first Bitcoin book that I ever read, and it really sold me on the idea of Bitcoin as a concept, I think.
Awesome. And last question, favorite movie?
Favorite movie? I really like Seven. It's like a 1990s movie with Kevin Spacey and Morgan Freeman.
Is that the 7 Deadly Sins or no?
Yeah, it's great. Yeah,
it is that one.
So good. Yeah.
Or with Morgan Freeman and Brad Pitt.
Yeah. The What's in the Box one. Yeah, it's yeah.
So that movie
Yeah.
haunted me for oh gosh, the what is it? The lust one.
Yeah,
Oh my gosh.
it's probably not a good, if you have kids,
I
don't watch
it
it.
was a fan well obviously definitely not for kids, but what I did like was the um whatever you called it. It's like the same thing I've seen Law Abiding Citizen. It's like that type of just like the evil person who has thought of every single possible scenario, and it's a super intricate crime, basically. And also another one that I thought was great is that's kind of in the vein of that complexity is called Money Heist. Have you seen that
Okay.
on
No,
Netflix?
I haven't seen that.
So I would add that to your list. I think it's Netflix, but and the only thing you have to give it 2 episodes before you write it off because it's in Spanish, and they do it's dubbed over in English, but it takes like legitimately about 2 episodes in my case to disregard the fact that that the audio doesn't line up with their lips, but that still it's a fantastic like heist, just like the bad guys plan and plan and plan and plan and plan, and then you're getting to see the good guys try and solve it while the bad guys are doing their thing. It's like it's good, but it's that Spanish, the English dubbed over Spanish acting was a little frustrating, but still a fantastic show. And it's a show, so it's got 10 episodes or whatever it is, but great one.
I think I found it on here. I'll have to check it out. I
um
wonder if you can watch it just in Spanish with subtitles. I don't know. That might be better.
I debated it. I'm sure you can, but
Yeah.
at least for me, it was like Natalie, my wife, and I were watching it, and we were like, "This is like I can't watch it," because after the first one, I was like, I
Right.
just can't stop
A lot of
seeing
reading.
their lips.
Yeah.
But you just kind of, it's like when you watch a black and white movie. At first, you're like, "What the heck?" And then 10 minutes, 20 minutes in, you just don't see it anymore. Um, but anyways, yeah, I think that the thing that is nice is they still have voice actors for every single person. So it's all like, it's very well done voiceovers. It just isn't Spanish, obviously. So, anyways, Brett, super fun. Thank you for coming on. This is a great conversation, and I know we'll be in touch. But look forward to seeing the future and how our channels grow and whatnot. But yeah, we'll stay in touch.
Thanks a lot, Chris. Yeah, talk soon.
Thank you for your attention and listening to this episode of The Pursuit of Purpose. Your feedback and comments mean the world to me. If you liked what you heard, please take a second, leave me a 5-star review on iTunes. If you've got suggestions for future episodes or just want to say hi, shoot me an email at chris@chriskiefer.com. Don't forget, I make it a point to include all the links to the books, movies, and resources mentioned on this episode in the show notes. You can see those directly below in the description or on my website, chriskiefer.com. Thanks so much, guys.